Welcome to the November 22nd, the Thanksgiving Eve PFF forecast. It is a great show. We obviously have a full slate of Thanksgiving. We're going to dive deeply into the ins and outs of how to succeed at your Thanksgiving football watching. Is turkey the running back of holiday foods? We'll spend no less than 30 minutes on that topic. We're going to get some SGP builds and, of course, locks of the week. It's going to be a great show. Let's rock. I feel like more and more I am talking to people that have, come out from the spell of big holiday food conglomeration, no longer seduced by turkey and all of the, complete baloney that goes along with it. Where do you guys stand on the Thanksgiving meal?
You do need to have a good cooking family. Like I had at a Friendsgiving, we had a nice deep fried turkey. Like if you're having just the classic like baked like white meat turkey, it's probably not very good, but you got to get creative. You got to have some good sides, some good, working in some different things, good dressing. There's a whole argument. I think dressing and stuffing are two different things, but anyway, I'm a fan, but the staples like turkey is not the greatest meat in the world.
No.
Like sweet potatoes are like they're solid for sure. They're not elite. They're good. They're above average. But anyway, it's all about how you do it. And some people have some very poor cooking skills, and that hurts.
It's interesting. Maybe I'm about to out myself to the members of the forecast here. One of my hottest takes is that I like really love like dry chicken and turkey. So I actually love turkey.
Wow. Do you put something on it, or you just like it really just raw dog it?
I just raw dog it, and I love it. It's it had an icebreaker. If someone's ever gonna ask like hot takes, like that is definitely number one.
That's the most scorching take I've ever heard. Ever.
It's what can I say?
Did you just discover this one Thanksgiving? You were like,
no, I just I noticed that like people would sometimes complain about like, oh, the chicken's too dry, and I'm like, oh, I kind of love this, and like it's at like same category of like white meat chicken that I also like turkey, and I was like, oh, this kind of makes sense. But I think on the whole though, like Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving foods about the nostalgia and like the day it represents, like outside of Thanksgiving, the food is just like not up to par. I don't think like it's just way worse than any other holiday food. Even though I love turkey, but like when I think of Thanksgiving, I just think of like beautiful fall weather. I think of football. I think of good times, and that kind of elevates it.
Yeah, honestly, if it weren't for football, it'd be tough. I've given this to people before. So members of the forecast, members of the printing press who have been here for a while, they will get it. They will know how I feel on this. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. Turkey is meat bread. It's just there for you to shovel the other crap into your mouth. It is the most overrated food out there. It takes hours and hours just to make it edible. It is like those low red zone plays that the Chiefs run that take all this time, look super fancy, probably take Andy Reid half a day to concoct, and don't freaking work. You should not eat it. You should convince your family to eat something that tastes good, like say a steak. There you go. That is my take. Okay. Let's start with some injury conversation because there are a few. Geno Smith came back into the game on Sunday. It seems like he's been a little bit questionable. Obviously, he plays tomorrow night. Fry it. I am not frying a turkey. Don't even get it. Don't start with this. Not frying a turkey. There are so many better foods to prepare without getting a 5-gallon jug of hot oil and going outside and frying a turkey. But I appreciate you, Melbourne.
You can make a good one in the oven too. You got to have the injection, the needle, and you got to got to brine it. You got to do all the good stuff. I hear you. It takes a lot, but I'm a turkey guy. I was
You
going to
can
say
also do
too.
that with a plank of wood. You get enough moisture in there, you can make it. Get enough wine, you can make it taste good. Anyways, I will get off my soapbox. We'll get to football. Brad, injury time.
Yep. So Gino's dealing with a tricep, but he's going to play. But I would kind of keep an eye on it. I think the fact he came back in the game and finished out the game threw a dart to DK Metcalf. We talked about. I think he's probably fine. However, he's not going to have Kenneth Walker in the game. That's why, of course, you use a second-round pick on running backs in back-to-back years. That's what all the sharp teams do. So Zach Charbonnet will be there in tow to take over for them. Also on Thursday, the biggest, probably most injury-decimated team is the Green Bay Packers. Luke Musgrave, a tight end, is out. Aaron Jones is out. And then, like, every pass catcher, like Jaden Reed is questionable. Dontavian Wicks is questionable. I think, like, the third-string running back is also questionable, probably going to go in this game. But, yeah, they have a bunch of injuries. I'll get into one of my favorite props of the day tomorrow is based on a lot of the injuries in Green Bay. So those are some of the big ones. We still don't really know about Justin Jefferson. Now moving to Sunday, what his status is against Chicago. I think he's going to play, but not really sure there. For Seattle, I get one more in Seattle. Right tackle Abraham Lucas is not playing, but I think Jason Peters has been largely fine there. Yeah, for the most part, though, fairly healthy in terms of, again, betting prop-type players, not looking at other guys outside of that. I don't think there's a lot of huge news. As always, correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, I think you're on the right spot. I forgot about Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet's rushing prop is at 55.5, minus 114 on both sides, which I think is interesting. The one place that I think we've seen the Niners struggle a little bit on defense, defending the run. Like, obviously the Browns had some success there, so I think that one is interesting. I am very interested in what your props angles are in that early game, because, like, yeah, they are super, super banged up. And I think you saw the Detroit Lions look ahead to this game, play like absolute crap. And I love Dan Campbell lighting into these guys all Thanksgiving week after that loss. So we'll be interested to kind of see where your angle is at there. Judah, any of these that play into SGP conversations? What are you thinking?
Absolutely. I'm a little afraid now I'm going to steal Brad's thunder, alluding to it, but
Go for it.
I do really like a Green Bay passing game SGP, especially given Jordan Love's prop right now is sitting at 230. We've seen him the past couple of weeks go far north of that, including eclipsing 300 yards last week. But the play here is over the last like 6 or 7 games or so, Detroit is allowing a higher ADOT by nearly a yard than like the second closest team. Their teams are attacking extremely far downfield. As a result, they're allowing tons of explosive plays. I think that matters twofold. Number one, if you want to generate yards quickly, especially if you're the type of guy who has a pretty low passing prop, you're going to need to connect on a bunch of deep balls. I don't imagine the volume is going to be crazy for Jordan Love, even though this is a kind of very banged up running back room with Aaron Jones out, AJ Dillon questionable. But nonetheless, Jordan Love currently has the highest ADOT of any quarterback in the league. If we take out Ryan Tannehill, who's no longer playing quarterback for the Titans, he is going to throw the ball downfield. And now we have a far more condensed target share, which I think means the books are not really pricing appropriately these receivers because they're building in samples where everyone's kind of like taking each other's snaps and beating each other up there. What we are going to see now is we know the 3 receivers who are going to be on the field. The tight end position is going to have fewer targets, I imagine, with Luke Musgrave out. They're not as comfortable throwing the ball to Aaron Jones. That all just means more targets for Christian Watson, for Romeo Doubs. Those are both guys I like who both have pretty good downfield roles. Christian Watson's underlying numbers are still really, really good, even though he has not connected on any huge deep balls or huge deep games since that game in Vegas when he first came back. If you're looking at his deep stuff and his ability to generate yards after the catch, it's all still present. I like both Watson. I like Dobbs. I like them together. I like them building separate. I think there's a lot of value to be had in kind of balancing the recent performance of Green Bay and recently how teams have attacked Detroit with success.
Let me just jump in because I know it's SGP angle, but that is exactly what I was thinking. I had a whole thing mocked up on Christian Watson in particular. Just a couple more data points on top of that. He lines up in the slot a decent amount, like 10-15% of his snaps. The Lions are better than only the Los Angeles Chargers, who legitimately cannot cover a slot receiver no matter what they try. I'm talking bottom 5 in EPA per coverage target, yards per coverage snap, any metric. They're terrible against slot receivers. Also, Watson, when he is out wide, kind of avoids Cam Sutton's favorable side. I think Dobbs will get more of that side. And then you mentioned some of the explosive stuff, some of the injuries. So the reason why the last piece for 7-1 most receiving yards of any player in this game in the first matchup, and yeah, there was game script involved, but the Lions ran the ball 40 times with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And they're going to do the same thing. I don't see why they would move away from that strategy against a Joe Barry defense that hasn't stopped the run game in 3-4 years. No receiver in the first matchup for Detroit had more than 56 receiving yards, I want to say. So you pop a couple big explosives from Christian Watson, get 80-plus yards. I love that 7-1 on him to lead that game in receiving yards. Kicking off at noon, get a little freaky right out of the gate.
Yeah, especially because you look at the other side of it, and you mentioned they're going to pound the rock with Gibbs, Montgomery, and then if they're up big, right, are they going to spend a lot of effort, trying to get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown? You obviously don't want to get him injured, short week. I also feel like with Jared Goff, and after that performance that we saw Sunday, they will be even more kind of focused on running the ball. So that then sets up really nicely for Green Bay to obviously chuck it later on in the game and try and hit Christian Watson. Are you playing this, Judah, with a Packers money line, a Packers -2.5? Like, are you actually looking to parlay that with a win, or are you just thinking of a Love and Watson connection?
I think I will sprinkle a little bit on, like Love and a money line or something of that sort. Though I don't think that's the main play. The main play, I think, and there's enough value to be had here, is just going to be Love to Watson, Love to Dobbs, Love to Watson and Dobbs, even without any of the kind of like theories about the game, because I still think the Lions can score, 35 points. The Packers can, have enough volume to score 24 on their own through, deep passing. It doesn't necessarily require the spread, but I do think there is also, as a separate argument, value on Love and a Packers spread.
Very nice. All right. Where to next?
Yeah, I'm sticking again with another Thanksgiving game. Not even because it's on Thanksgiving. It just this happens to be what I really like.
You love dry white meats and Thanksgiving SGPs. What's not to love?
Exactly. I also feel like my entire life has been like a Washington Dallas 4 o'clock game. Like Antonio Gibson scoring like 4 touchdowns. I don't know. I just feel like that's a classic spot. But I'm going to go with Curtis Samuel here. I'm especially looking on PointsBet, where you can get building centering around him to get 65 yards at plus 1050. And Dallas has played a ton of man coverage. Of all of the wide receivers, Curtis Samuel has the highest target rate of any Commander's receiver when playing in man coverage. And he also has, as you can see, the clear matchup of least resistance. He plays his 75% of his snaps in the slot. He's going up against Jordan Lewis, who has really, really struggled, as opposed to Bland and Gilmore, who have been terrific on the outside. We know Howell is going to pass. His main target in man coverage against a man-heavy coverage Dallas team is Curtis Samuel. Not much needs to go right here for 65 yards. For the Washington passes, 40 times a game, no matter who the opponent is. I can imagine they will only increase that, and there's only room for more. Yes, he doesn't have a huge share, and there are he'll probably maybe only get a 20 to 22%, and that's probably enough when Sam Howell is throwing 40-45 times as he has his base rate. Plenty of volume to go around. especially if Antonio Gibson is out, and I think they'll use some of Samuel's routes kind of in that like hybrid short role. I think we'll also get some deep shots with the man advantage, with the slot advantage, especially given the prices. I think this is a really good kind of angle to build.
I mean, you just look at this defensive line, Howell's propensity to take sacks. Like they're going to have to get rid of the ball quickly here. So would stand to reason. Makes a ton of sense. I mean, attacking Deron Bland gets you the same number of touchdowns as actually targeting Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, per Timo Riske, who pointed out that they have the same number of touchdowns. And Bland has done that all this year. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I actually have a thought on this game that we'll get to a little bit later on. Are you going to make it 3 for 3? Do you have an SGP in the Seahawks Niners game?
I don't. It's too many mouths to feed in San Francisco. Don't have any particular angle of who will get the volume, but maybe if I get in the lab, a little later, maybe I'll crank something out for the press. But I didn't see anything at first glance.
3 SGPs for George on Thanksgiving is like that's the nicest thing you could do for a man. Like it's just...
fair enough.
It really is. It really is. The Zach Charbonnet turns into beast mode SGP coming soon. It's being cooked. It needs to be basted a little bit before we get there. All right. Any others for the main slate?
Yeah. We'll go with a couple. I'm so thrilled that I get to. I thought the markets would have caught up to our king Rashid Shaheed at this point. You would think they would know better than to hang a line at 35, especially with Michael Thomas out in a plus spot against a massive pass funnel in Atlanta. And I'm going to be ecstatic. I don't know Derek Carr's status. I don't know if he's out of concussion protocol. I don't think it really matters for this play. I'd be ecstatic if it's Jameis Winston. But I mean, Rashid Shaheed at 35 yards, he's going to be the wide receiver 2 now. He's going to be on the field the entire time. The dude, I mean, how many times do we have to say it? He excels in every area of the game. He will finally have, I think, the proper opportunity. He's in a good spot. The Saints are going to need to throw. They throw the ball deep a ton. Rashid Shaheed's that guy. They're going to engineer him touches shorter as well. We can't be putting up props at 37.5, and I'm sure we're going to get alts, at 80, 90 yards at plus 700, plus 800, plus 900, whatever that might be. I'm going to take that every single time.
Here's a question for the group. The Kansas City Chiefs are undefeated, and Rashid Shaheed has 1,500 yards if he plays for the Chiefs.
Fact.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The Chiefs, honestly, we haven't talked about that Monday night game. The Chiefs are an embarrassment. Like, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm sitting out until my tight end stops going to Argentina. Just Travis Kelce looks, I know they're double and triple teaming him. He looks like an old man. He looks less agile than Jason Kelce.
And that game he did. It's like you're making a joke, but it's actually serious.
It was rough to watch, man. It was tough, dude. You look horrible. And then the receivers, obviously, are a complete joke. Mahomes should have a sit-it. He should just refuse to get off the bench until they provide him with a real NFL player to play alongside him. Rashid Shaheed would be putting up Tyreek Hill numbers if he played on the Chiefs.
That's, a testament to Rashid Shaheed. What's weird about the Chiefs, though, is that, like, the wide receiver unit is better than last year, I think. It's effectively the same cast of characters, except that Rashee Rice is playing instead of Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, they're playing terribly, I agree. But, like, there hasn't been so much that's changed. It's a little weird.
I think I would agree with you. They're obviously dropping more passes. I mean, it's interesting. They're getting open. Orlovsky did a nice bit on the amount of like route adjustments that they did incorrectly in that game. Like Justin Watson and MBS had separate ones that they just clearly did not, were not on the same page as Mahomes. But they were getting some separation. It just wasn't, they weren't able to hold on to the ball. It also seems as though the drops are coming in really important situations, right? Obviously, the MVS one, the Justin Watson one on the fourth down, like tons of opportunities where they could just make one big play that Tony drops in week one. And then I'll say this, I really think that the fact that Travis Kelce is like half of what he was last year is a big deal. Really big deal.
I'm not sure he's
No,
healthy.
it is. He's lost, like, we have some tracking stuff. He's lost speed every year the last 2 or 3 years now. They're second in the NFL in drop rate. Like, I think to a degree they kind of want to work through it and force themselves to just get better and grow through it and hope that it changes come playoff time. There's positive regression, but yeah, it's losing them games right now.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on this, I was looking into a bit last week, like what's going on here, because I was a little puzzled. Like Mahomes, if you take his like out of structure stuff or his scrambling stuff, where effectively all of these factors matter less because like Mahomes is buying enough time where like by virtue of being on an NFL field, like you can generate enough separation and do the like bare minimum to get open in like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever it is. Like he's had no drop off there. And nothing stylistically is different in terms of like how they're attacking. Everything it like tracks exactly the same. The difference is like all the things in structure. I'm curious. I don't like know enough about the scheme stuff. I'm curious if like we're talking about the receivers. Obviously, the drops are important, but I don't think that's the full story here. Like, does Andy Reid have the same edge? I'm not sure, but a lot of it is the in structure stuff that's still different.
Say it, Judah. It's Matt Nagy. He's a cancer.
Yeah, it's like there's some offensive scheme thing that is not clear from like the process of the data, if that makes sense. But the like results are certainly showing up in that area. It's not Mahomes scrambling. It's not the way there's something substantively different about all of the things in structure.
And the Washington Commanders have Eric Bieniemy and a worse quarterback and are putting together a decent passing offense. I think there's something to it. All right. Enough of the Chiefs. It just stinks that there's no one in that freaking division that, is worth even watching, right? It doesn't matter. Like they're just going to win that division. The AFC is crumbling, so it's not going to matter, unfortunately. Any other SGP angles?
The last one I'll go with, and I think this is going to be very similar to something I talked a lot about last week, of just like playing kind of quarterback uncertainty, where like books are putting out these like outrageously low props, assuming that like the quarterback's like 90th percentile outcome is league average, and like in any given sample, that doesn't necessarily work. Went 1 for 3 there on those takes last week with like DeVito, Dorian Thompson, Robinson, and Will Levis, but it was 4 yards shy of an 170 to 1, which is the value of like taking these shots, and I think we're gonna get it again with Jake Browning.
Yes.
Well, it's also like the situation for Jake Browning is way better than any of these other guys. Like he's going to be throwing. I assume T. Higgins is back. Maybe he's not, but like he's still throwing to Jamar Chase. Like that's a huge difference. It's like you just throw a 7-yard slant and Chase can take off exactly. And Pittsburgh plays a ton of man coverage. They don't have the cornerbacks to defend against Jamar Chase. This defense has been bleeding explosive plays all season. The market almost. There's been Robbie Greer's done a bunch of great research on how the market misprices the going from a good quarterback to his backup. Markets tend to overestimate that effect. I'm praying we get a Jake Browning 170-yard prop with all its 250 like we got for Tommy DeVito last week. That's something I'll be all over.
I love this angle. I'm excited to talk about this game. I have some thoughts on this for locks of the week. No Matt Canada teaser. All right, let's get into it. Lock of the week time. We've been on a little bit of, dare I say, a comeback. Don't call it one. A little bit of comeback, a little bit of a rough start. We've reoriented ourselves. Couple of like either one loss or undefeated weeks. So let's keep it rolling. Thanksgiving is my favorite week to do this because you can get a little Thanksgiving, 4-pack, 6-pack, something like that. and then you got the main slate. And this year we get Tim Boyle on Black Friday, which is a true delight. Brad, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, and Tim Boyle's number is 170. So you mentioned Jake Browning. I assume it to be around there. Maybe he's held in a higher regard than a Tim Boyle. But anyway, so I'm not going to do a 7-1 bet as a lock of the week, but I mentioned the Watson one that I love. A different one, sticking with a Thanksgiving prop bet here. And Judah also sort of alluded to this one as well. It's looking at the Commanders-Cowboys game, thinking there's a massively high volume of Sam Howell dropbacks. I think we saw him come back down to earth with his pressure to sack rate after a couple solid weeks there. He avoided it, and then he still got sacked a bunch against the Giants and threw 3 picks. And so I think he's going to go back to holding on the ball for a particularly long period of time. But in this game, the script is going to call for a ton of passing. We know they throw the ball as much as anyone in the National Football League. And then where they do give up pressure, but we're not blaming Sam Howell, they are 27th in pressure rate allowed by guards and centers, and their interior offensive line is 25th in pass block grade. So you're never going to get a good price on Micah Parsons. You're probably not going to get a good price on DeMarcus Lawrence. Osa Odigizua is a top 25 interior defender in pressure rate. I think he's like 23rd or 24th in pass rush win rate. He hasn't had a sack in a while. You get over a quarter for plus 145 here. Is a nice prop in that 4 o'clock game for a sack or a half sack, I suppose, of Mr. Sam Howell.
79.3 pass rush grade, 10th among 113 defensive interior linemen. I think that's makes a ton of sense. And you think about the books knowing about Micah Parsons. Well, obviously the Commanders do as well. So I think that they'll be putting a little bit less focus on Mr. Odigizua. Judah?
Yeah, I think Logan here is right in the chat saying he'd rather watch Black Friday Stampedes than Tim freaking Boyle. And the truth is, I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of Tim Boyle because I don't think there'll be a lot of offense from the Jets here. Not too many offensive plays, which is going to mean plenty of volume and plenty of plays for the Miami Dolphins, who love throwing to this guy named Tyreek Hill. Is also particularly good when he gets the ball. His prop right now is sitting at 75.5. I believe the lowest his prop has closed this year is 89, something like that. Whatever it is a massive drop off. Yes, the Jets secondary is really good, but I don't think anyone in football can guard Tyreek Hill, slow down Tyreek Hill, scheme against Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill. They're going to be throwing the ball plenty. The Jets just do not have an offense. Miami keeps their foot on the gas pedal. The drop-off in price, respecting the Jets defense, is just too much for how good this Dolphins offense and Tyreek Hill is.
I thought it was interesting that actually Devontae Adams had a decent showing against the Jets, all things considered. So they're not, they don't just completely shut everyone down. And to your point, they're going to be tired in this game because that offense ain't moving anywhere. So the Jets defense will be on the field quite a bit. I'd rather watch Get Up than Tim Boyle. That's how much I despise him. All right, here's my first bet. I'm going to the Cowboys and the Commanders. I love the Commies plus 13.5. Why? The zigzag theory of gambling as it pertains to Sam Howell. Coming off of an embarrassing performance against the Giants. Now, the Giants do some things that Sam Howell does not deal well with. He does not deal well with the blitz, does not deal well with high expectations. But when you're a 13-point dog, this is where Sam Howell rises. Not a big blitzing team are the Cowboys. You mentioned that playing a lot of man coverage will simplify some things for him. He, has played well in games against the Eagles this year, teams that have a good defensive line, teams that are much better than he is. So the underdog Sam Howell story is one that I really like. I just think 13.5 is giving way too much credit to the Cowboys for beating up on garbage teams. Let's take a look at the Cowboys, right? They've played the Panthers, Tommy DeVito. Like, both those teams are not real football teams. The Washington Commanders are a real football team. So if you're telling me that the way that the Cowboys have played against those two teams is indicative, I just totally disagree. Obviously, they beat up on the Rams. They hurt Stafford. That's a really bad matchup for the Rams. Anytime they play a decent team, they either lose or it's close. So I think the Commies firmly in that decent team tranche. Commies plus 13.5 is my first lock of the week.
Yeah.
Can we also just real quick acknowledge that Tim Boyle in his junior season at UConn averaged 4.7 yards per attempt and completed 51.7% of passes and had 0 touchdowns. I think this is his Pro Football Reference page. If you go to his NFL page and click on college, it's where it takes you. I'm not even sure how, like you talked about it earlier, George, in a meeting we had with the company. I'm not sure how he's even in the NFL, but hey, you know what? Good for Tim Boyle. Happy for him. Proud of him. Anyway.
What? Just real quick, Brad, if you want to entertain your uncle tomorrow, get some conspiracy theories, or on Friday, some conspiracy theories about why Tim Boyle's in the NFL. Okay. Just think about connections to Rodgers, things that they might have in common, his presence in the locker room, his presence outside of the locker room, just some things to ponder.
The Jets fan uncle would probably know like some random factoid and be like, look, he's going to be better than Zach. He can run an offense. He's got moxie. He's got a lot, all the cliche buzzwords. He's probably got them all just ready to rock and roll. But anyway, Tim Boyle tangents aside, look, we're still trying to bet on Thursday night here, obviously tomorrow. So I got 3 teaser legs I'll throw out. We can pick which ones we like the most, but the Detroit Lions at -8 or -7.5, depending which book you look at, is certainly one of them. Like the Packers are playing better football. I just despise this matchup for them. Not even just because it was a blowout the first time. The Lions have won this game 4 times in a row for a reason, and I think it is because, in particular, the Detroit leaning on the run game, just playing bully ball and just blowing this Packers defensive line off the line of scrimmage, being physical, setting up play action. They get the linebackers to bite on everything. The secondary outside of Jair Alexander is not any good. They haven't been able to defend the slot in a very long time because of injury or just having Keyshawn Nixon and Chandon Sullivan, whoever. Anyway, that is one of the legs. And then we talked a bunch on Sunday about the Cleveland Browns, the Broncos. It's a total facade. They've gone 4-1 in their last 5. They've had 4.4 net yards per play, minus 0.11 EPA per play, actually worse than their first 5 games. And then in particular in that matchup, they're bottom 5 in EPA per rush, success rate against the run, and second worst in yards per carry. Or a last one, look, do the Chiefs have problems? Yes. Are they concerned? Should we be concerned about what they're doing right now? Yes. Are they going to beat Aiden O'Connell by 2.5 points? Yes.
Compelling.
That's all I got. Yeah, no, there's no data on that one. It's just straightforward.
I'll throw one more thing out there on the Broncos. I love that point. They were so bad against the run that they made Alexander Madison look like an NFL running back.
Hard to do.
That is hard to do. And they've also benefited from 3 fumble recoveries on run plays in the past 2 games. It's insane. Like the regression is coming.
That's just what they do. They bait you into a sense of security, running the ball so well, and then they just punch the ball out. That's really what it is. You think no one's going to
Vance Joseph is seeing things you're not.
Exactly.
Galaxy brain defense. Yeah.
I was going to propose a similar teaser, so I'm glad, Brad, that you covered it. I'm just going to go with a traditional spread. I feel like this is very uncharacteristic of me. Maybe I actually should take some alts here. I think the Niners at 7 is a pretty bad mispricing right now. It's one thing we talk about, like, okay, points and a point spread is a reflection of, like, number one, like if you're building power ratings and you're making point spread on a neutral field, that's like one way of looking at it, but they also represent real points in real games. And that matters more for a team like the Niners than it does any other team. Why? Because when the Niners win, they just front run you and they beat you by 2 scores. That happens in basically all of their wins this season. They've won by multiple scores. I don't think that's a coincidence. That's happened for many years now. And this is a pretty bad matchup, I think, for Seattle. San Francisco's pricing right now is building in a little bit of a sample where their guys weren't healthy. And like that matters for a team like San Francisco, I think, more than anyone else, especially when you don't have, okay, I'm going to say it, an elite quarterback, where Brock Purdy is kind of very reliant on a lot of the circumstances around him. And if you kind of start to take away a bunch of these strong links, and teams can kind of hone in on only 2 skill position guys or 3 skill position guys, that matters more. But everyone's healthy now. And the sample we have of all of these guys healthy is a unit that basically consistently scores 30 points a game at least. They've been dominant. This defense is healthy. There's no way Geno Smith is playing at 100%. There's no chance. Like, sure, he might be playing and gutting it out, and like maybe a hurt Geno Smith is better than Drew Lock, but there's no way that like you suffer an elbow injury or knocked out of the game and are just gonna like be able to make all the throws with the same velocity as you previously had. That just doesn't happen. I think that the Niners in every such way are way better than the Seahawks, and the way they play games is just they're going to front run you, and I don't see how the Seahawks are going to stop that.
To your point, in games where their full complement of offensive players were healthy, they have either won by 2 scores or by 7 in every single game. They've only not won by 2 scores in 1 game, and that was the Rams game, which was a 10-point game until Sean McVay decided to kick a field goal as time expired for no goddamn reason. Not bitter at all about it. Didn't hurt me at all. Before I get to my next one, this podcast brought to you by PrizePicks, prizepicks.com. We've talked about a couple of different player angles here. I'm going to talk about one in just about 30 seconds, or maybe more like a minute. But on PrizePicks, you can go get yourself involved in the action with a bunch of really awesome daily fantasy games. You can now combine multiple sports. You can do LeBron James and Travis Kelce. Not sure why you put Travis Kelce in there, but if so inclined, you may do so, and combo them up. 3-pointers made, receptions, that kind of thing. And PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play, even if one of your players gets injured, which is super cool. So for football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and is not returned in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. So whether you're trying to capitalize on Christian Watson or a little Curtis Samuel action tomorrow, or maybe both, go to prizepicks.com/forecast. Use code forecast for a first deposit match of $100. That's prizepicks.com/forecast, and use promo code forecast for a first deposit match of up to $100. I have resisted the daily fantasy game for a while. Tomorrow, I'm going to get involved. I promised myself that I'm going to get into it. I want to see what these things are all about. And so join me on prizepicks.com. Last but not least, our good friends at Manscaped. You're going to see a lot of people at your Thanksgiving meal or whatever it might be, Black Friday get together, that you're going to go, man, you should have invested in a Lawnmower 5.0. Don't be that person. Go get yourself the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Amazing battery life, incredibly close cut, and very, very safe. AI is cool, but this might be the biggest technological advancement the world has ever seen. TBD if OpenAI is developing it or not. But Manscaped is something that I trust. I use it. Have used it for a very, very long time. Their next-gen skin-safe blade heads are one of a kind. I've tried other products. It's not even close. Battery life, as I've talked about, is also significantly better than any of the competition. So go to manscaped.com, use promo code PFF for a 20% off discount plus free shipping. That's manscaped.com. 20% off plus free shipping with promo code PFF. All right. My next bet. We are going, you mentioned this game, Bengals Steelers. So I love your SGP, Judah. I have 2 angles on this game. The first is Jamar Chase versus Patrick Peterson. There are few mismatches bigger than Jamar Chase against Patrick Peterson. I will run you back to week 1. Brandon Ayuk abused Patrick Peterson like nothing you have ever seen. A lot of similarities, in my opinion. Jamar Chase can separate versus man coverage. He's also strong. He's fast. Patrick Peterson is going to be in a lot of trouble in this game. And to your point, Judah, I do not think Jake Browning is anywhere near as bad as some of the backups out there. He looked competent in the game that we saw. The other thing here is Matt Canada out. This is going to give the crappy Steelers offense a bit of a little boost here. Dare I say, can't believe I'm saying this, but I like over 35.5. 35.5 is a ridiculously low number. I think Jake Browning is this unique backup quarterback that can actually throw the ball, but is also probably going to make the chance of a pick six increase by 20 to 30% over, a Joe Burrow. Beautiful for the over because the Steelers not very good at scoring themselves. So I like Jamar Chase overs. I don't see any props out there yet. I think it probably comes back to earth a little bit without Joe Burrow. I like over on Jamar Chase and over on this game.
I respect it. Yeah, Jake Browning actually looked decent in his limited action, and that's coming from a guy who watched a lot of Washington football and was like, "Why is Jake Browning in the NFL?" But he looked pretty good. I'll go to another prop here, and I think we talked on Sunday as well about liking Philadelphia a lot in this Bills-Eagles game. As I mentioned, I will be there. If you want to give me free beers at the tailgate, you wouldn't be the first to offer, but you will be the second to be accepted of that lovely proposition. But I like Stephon Diggs over 6.5 receptions here, plus 106. I'm seeing probably maybe some better prices out there. I think you are buying low here to a degree. Has not had this number in the last 3 weeks. Philadelphia has become not only a pass funnel with a good run defense, but also a pass to wide receiver funnel. They have allowed a dozen more catches by opposing wide receivers than any other team in the NFL, and they're now bottom half of the NFL in receptions by tight ends and running backs against. You look at the receivers that have carved them up. In particular, it's guys that get open with quick separation, get the ball in their hands. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, all those guys have gone over 6.5 receptions against them. And so, it's not necessarily big bruising, big body guys. It's a lot of just quick separators and guys that create separation, get open. This is going to be a passing game script from Buffalo. We know their defense is going to give up a ton of points against Philadelphia. It's an absolute must-win game for them. Philadelphia obviously wants to win every single game. They frankly should not have beaten the Chiefs. I think they'll still get a great effort from them. But I think you're just going to have a Buffalo offense that knows they need to score a ton. And I think you're just buying low because Diggs hasn't had a great month. Over 6.5 receptions for Stephon Diggs at plus money.
So that was precisely what I was going to propose next. So I'll instead say, if anyone, to echo Brad, instead of wanting to buy Brad a beer, if they just want to give me an extra ticket to this game, I will be in Philadelphia. I'll buy all of you beers for the ticket. So if anyone from the press wants to come through, I would appreciate that. But yeah, I love the 6.5 for all of the reasons you just mentioned. And getting that plus money is just a bonus and a serious buy low, I think, for Diggs.
Is that it for you, Judah?
That is it for me.
Okay. I have one more that I want to throw in there. Saw this in the chat. I think it's a good shout. In Commanders and Cowboys, no Antonio Gibson, right, in this game. Brian Robinson has been quite good, 10th highest graded running back, and has been good as a receiver and good as a rusher. So I'm looking at FanDuel right now. I'm not seeing a receiving prop or a total combined rushing and receiving, but his rushing prop is just at 41.5. I like a combo of those two if you can get it. There's also a most rushing and receiving yards in the game. This one has my attention. He is plus 750 to have the most combined rushing and receiving yards in the game. I think it's a really interesting spot. A couple of reasons you mentioned, Brad. Obviously, the Judy, you mentioned the Curtis Samuel angle. I think there's also an angle here where you're going to try and get rid of the ball quickly, maybe take advantage of the Cowboys' aggressiveness with some screens to the running back. And so I think Brian Robinson in a really nice place to contribute in this game. So that's my bonus lock of the week, which is a little step plus 750. So not quite as aggressive as what was it, Brad? Like 18-1. By the way, the Cowboys' first touchdown went to a tight end. All the Cowboys tight ends look exactly the same. I jumped off my couch. I was prepared to go buy a yacht and sail to Cabo, and then realized that it was some schlub named Studebaker. and absolutely crushed my hopes and dreams.
Yeah, I was gonna curse the name Peyton Hendershot, but it actually was Luke Schoonmaker, who their second round pick out of Michigan. They all have a jersey that starts with an 8. I think it's 85, 86, 87. That was tough. The analysis was sound. The result was not. Anyway, yeah, Antonio Gibson is questionable, but it's trending towards an out. He's been limited all week long. And then I'm also seeing, just throw it in there, he's 30-1. Brian Robinson is just to lead the game in receiving yards. Kind of even more of a crazy bet, but he has been getting a million checkdowns. So anyway, I like that as a bonus bet, but I also think we just lost Judah. Oh no,
he couldn't handle the Brian Robinson heat.
He couldn't handle it.
Is the moral of the story. All right, let's. Do you have any more, Brad?
I'm all tapped out as well.
Okay. Let's get into it here. What were your favorites?
Commies 13.5, I think, is insane. I think we need just a straight up bet. Just give people, hey, here's a spread. Like we said, tell your uncle, tell your cousin, hey, we're just betting a straight up spread, 4:00 game, right when the dinner gets served. Hop on the Commies plus 13.5. That's probably my favorite, just normal bet of the entire week, probably.
Yeah, I'm there with you, obviously. I think sack prop with Odigizua, very compelling in that game, especially with Sam Howell. I don't think we talked about this, but I feel obliged to do some kind of teaser on Thanksgiving. It's not traditional. It's not technically a long teaser, but Lions Packers. But here's the thing, Brad. As I think about that, it's like they're 7.5 point favorites in this game, each side. I kind of just like a parlay of the two or bet the two straight up. So I don't really want to make it a lock, but I just want to throw that out there. I feel like if you are so inclined on Thanksgiving, that is a particularly interesting one. The Diggs over. I know both of you guys had it. I love that one as well. And then I think as far as the teaser legs go, Browns out to 8.5 was probably my favorite.
Agreed. And if you want to do a Thursday though, Lions Niners, like you said, it's not long, but we did the Bills last week at a 7. That obviously was a comfortable cash with the Steelers. Browns is my favorite of the week as well.
Judah, where's your head at?
Same here. Yeah, I like the Browns and Steelers, frankly, as my favorite teaser legs. Agreed with Diggs. I agree with you on the commies as well. Those were some of my favorites.
I will say this, I know we've been trying to go more prop heavy. And depending on what Hill and Chase end up at, I think both of those are compelling. I did want to ask this question of you, Brad, and I forgot. What's the deal with the Jaguars corners?
Tyson Campbell missed last game. He's been weird all season long, kind of up and down. Let's see here. Any news?
While you're looking that up,
yep,
I think that is an interesting spot, and I'm curious where Tank Dell shows up. I feel like Tank Dell is legitimately playing like a top 10 wide receiver right now, and I'm not sure that he's being priced like one. I'll just say this: I know it's not a fantasy podcast, but in fantasy, I'm gonna bench Devontae Adams and play Tank Dell this week, and I don't think I'm crazy. So, I thought that was an interesting angle. I know we're technically done with locks, but depending on where those numbers come out, we'll post them in the Discord. Obviously,
62.5.
What are you saying?
I see 62.5 for Tank Dell, or just like tier 2 to 3 receiver.
I'm sorry, 62.5. You don't need to go Black Friday shopping because you can go buy a mansion thanks to Tank Dell's receiving prop. You're welcome. Yes, that's right.
Tyson Campbell probably going to be out. So
there you go. I think we should add that one.
Yep.
I feel phenomenal.
I can't dispute it. I've been, after Rashid Shaheed, there was Tank Dell. That was like the gem I feel like I've been beaten for a month. I felt like I couldn't put. I was gonna say I couldn't put Tank Dell in 3 straight weeks of an SGP, but of course the third week was the one. It didn't feel right. It felt like people would start to say I'm too repetitive. They're gonna think he's the next Sam Howell.
If only the Chiefs could draft a player half as good as Tank Dell. If only. Who are we pairing up with Browns plus 8.5 or plus 7.5?
I think Lions is one option to get more Thanksgiving action. We could do that. I know Niners is not Wong, but I'm very comfortable teasing them down to 1. I know Judah agrees on that one.
I like going Browns Browns Lions.
I like that as well.
I gotta say, I mean, I've made this play before. The Niners, when healthy, are an absolute house. Geno Smith is banged up. The only concern I have, the only minor concern I have, Talanoa Hufanga out with an ACL. He's been phenomenal, been a big part of that defense. If Geno Smith finds some sort of, strength in his arm from heaven above, but there's also a legitimate shot we see Drew Lock in this game, in my opinion. So
very legitimate. Also, shout out Jair Brown, though. So we make fun of Jake Moody a lot. We should give some props to their other third-round pick, Jair Brown, who actually had a sick interception in this game for the Niners. So, hey, they didn't waste every draft pick. They actually used one on a good player. Anyway.
They actually sacrifice certain picks so that others, can be strong.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see if we can round this up. We have got Commies plus 13.
Commies. Yep.
Our Osa Odigizua over 0.25 sacks. Was plus 140.
Plus 145.
Plus 145. We have the Lions down to 1.5, with the Brownies out to 7.5. It's our teaser. We have Stephon Diggs over. Do we have a number on him yet?
6.5 plus 106. I saw at FanDuel.
Okay, beautiful. We have Tank Dell over 62.5 receiving yards. And the nightcap tomorrow on NBC. Your San Francisco 49ers -7 against the Seahawks. That's a 6-pack. That's the way we like it.
Yeah.
And for those of you, I think we should have a place, Brad, for the long odds kind of lock of the week, right? This is not technically a lock of the week, in that same sense. But I love the Brian Robinson angle. We gave you a bunch with SGPs as well. So hopefully there's a feast on your table. It does not consist of dry chicken or turkey.
Unless you're Judah, that's the feast.
Fuels the SGPs. That's really what it is. The dry chicken.
All the juice comes from the SGPs.
All the juice comes in the SGPs. If you win an SGP on Thanksgiving, you have to pass some along and get it to Judah so he can go to the game. Can go to Bills.
Yes.
I feel like that's the code. Thank you so much to all of you for hanging out with us. Those of you that are here with us live on Thanksgiving Eve. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Watch some football. Be thankful for the family, even the ones that annoy the living crap out of you. We are all thankful that you guys hang out with us on Wednesday nights and Sunday nights and listen to us whenever it is that you do. So we wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back, of course, on Sunday night with our Guess the Lines right after Chargers and Ravens. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Love you all. Peace.